Hello, everyone, and we're back as Isabella Reads with Amazon Made Simple podcast, and I have Jammie Davidson today, the guy who is super famous. I've been always seeing him everywhere, his pictures, his handshakes, and him smiling with the very famous celebrities everywhere. And I was like, damn, how can I approach him? How can I talk to him? And when I went to the last BDSS, he actually approached me saying, "Are you working for Data Dive?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm by myself." He said, "Why are you promoting Data Dive?" I'm like, "Well, it's just a good tool to go about it." So he yelled at me a little bit. Anyway, Jammie, welcome here. And your story is amazing, and we want to learn about it today.
That's great. Thanks for having me. And Data Dive is a good tool. So Brandon Young, in case he's listening.
Well, I'm sure he's not. However, guys, if you, during our conversation, if you want to ask us some questions, some of you don't speak English at all, it will be translated to Russian language later. But if you do understand and you want to drop some questions, please feel free to do so. Jammie, I didn't know when I met you first time that you've been in the military, that you're actually a military guy in the past. Let us know a little bit about it. So why did you join Army, and why did you resign, or like you became a retirement, you're a veteran, and how your Amazon journey started? Like, where is this transition happening?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you kind of just the highlights in the short period, but I have a long family history in the military. So I went to, for my college university, I went to military academy at West Point. So the United States Military Academy. So I was there for 4 years, got my college degree. And then after that, part of West Point, it's you actually get paid while you're there. The tuition's all covered, which is a couple $100,000, but then you owe, I owed time, basically 5 years of active duty service, plus another 3 with reserve time. So you have like an 8-year commitment. At the time I was in, they were offering us out a little bit early. So I got out in just under 4 years out of the military. I was still doing my reserve time up until the 8-year mark. So yeah, that was in my 20s. And, West Point's all about leadership and managing teams and kind of that experience. And so you get a lot of experience at a young age, managing a platoon and deploying across the world, et cetera. But, beyond that, really what happened back then too, I always had an entrepreneurial mind. I remember being deployed, like looking at a USA Today newspaper while I was in the desert, looking for like vending machines I was going to open up, because I realized when I became an Army officer that I thought it was a lot of money. I was making like $35,000, and I realized like $35,000 doesn't really go that far. And so I was looking for, kind of side hustles back then. And I always had that bug. My dad was an entrepreneur. But, back then there wasn't as many opportunities. The internet was earlier and, very different now. So skip ahead many years later. Basically I was in kind of a corporate world. I was, worked my way up in corporate. I became a chief operating officer and a CEO of 2 like private equity backed companies. They were kind of small, mid-sized companies. I was like, hired gun by these investors to run and grow these businesses. But the answer is I moved to Atlanta, Georgia for one of those business deals. And my next door neighbor was a Chinese native, Jason, who was selling cell phone cases out of the garage in addition to his IT job. And without going into a ton of detail to begin with, but it basically grew really fast. I didn't really think it was that serious a business, but we became good friends. We'd go over there, have some drinks.
What year was it? iPhone cases selling out of garage.
2011 this was.
Oh yeah, I can't believe it, this number.
So 2011, and so I got involved. It was him and another partner, Brad, who's also native Chinese. Honestly, when I first saw the business, I thought I could not do it because I always heard him like yelling Mandarin off his back porch at night, late at night, talking to suppliers, and he would like yell and scream. And I was like, oh, I guess that's why he can do the business. I can't. So it took me a while, and he was trying to convince me to get involved. But it's interesting in some cases when you've done, when you've got a good corporate job and your family and responsibilities, it was harder for me because I was making pretty good money. I was making like $500,000. And so to go from that, to give that up to an entrepreneurial career, it took me like a year or two to really assess this and make sure this was going to make sense. But that business got to, it's different than it is now. We'll talk about, but basically we got it to about $8 million within the first 2 years. And then there's different stepping stones. We got to 20 million, 40 million. We hit 60 million. We kind of plateaued at 60 million for a couple of years. And then in 2018,
hold on, back up here.
Yeah.
That all been like from iPhone cases, or you've been adding more products?
Almost all. Yeah, that was all iPhone cases. So we were like one of the number one providers of cases in the US at the time. We were top 3. But we had 2,000 SKUs of iPhone cases and accessories. iPad. Matter of fact, initially we started more with iPad cases was the first thing, and then the iPhone, the iPhone grew and became more prevalent. But it was really iPad cases what we started with, and then all of the accessories over time, not just iPhone, but also the Galaxy, all the other phones as well too. But we really didn't shift to another category until like 2017, something like that. So
wow.
We just stayed really focused and really deep and really brand focused early on. So yeah, that was kind of the.
Have you been building brand back to that time? Like when you had these iPhone cases, and I remember that was a battle. Like I remember how it's been happening, and I remember people who'd be like, "I'm going to sell iPhone cases," and then this listing is shut down, and then like another one and another one.
Yeah, super competitive. That the two most competitive things were cell phone cases and supplements, and for different reasons. Now, cell phone cases, the thing about it, it's one of the reasons why aggregators are hesitant to buy some of those brands is because there's complexity to it, because it's really, we realized quickly that we thought of ourselves almost as a product development company more than, Amazon sellers, because the whole thing, we had to have really good product that was ready to go like every fall once the new phones hit. And so we would pay, I think we paid $60,000 one time to get a real phone for like 4 hours before they came out, just to get the mold right and get everything right. Like a dummy phone in China, like black market, to get the real iPhone before anyone knew what, they announced what it was going to be. That's kind of what went on, because to get that right was critical, because when the phone launches, if your case doesn't fit, like the iPad, sometimes they change, like the magnification of how the case works. So that was kind of the key of it. We have a 20 to 30 person design team over in China that's like from top engineering schools, graphic design schools that literally spend all day designing the product. So that's what it got to, because we hit the $100 million mark in 2018. And the short version of that is we have our team in Atlanta. We have a big warehouse here, but we basically built a 200 plus person team in China as well too, that helps manage this operation.
It's blowing mind story. Do you consider the occasion, like how everything happened, is just the coincidence? Is it fate?
Yeah.
Or what it is? Because like it's been your neighbor, you resigned, you've been on the reserve, and generally speaking, you've been on a path where like what I'm going to do. So because generally speaking, this neighbor's experience changed your whole life, and like you are where you are right now because of something happened in 2011.
Yeah, you're right. What Jason, two things. One, Jason said his goal, he used to do like retail arbitrage, like he was an IT consultant, probably making 150, 200,000 a year. But he was trying to replace, his wife made like 90,000 and they had a young kid. And so he was just trying to make $90,000 initially when he got started. And he used to do like, Black Friday, do like retail arbitrage and buy monitors and sell them. So originally he thought like, oh, this, if I could make $100,000, that would be great. Years later, like we've walked around our warehouse and he's like, I remember it was like 7 years in, like 2018, and being like, there's no other business model in the world that we could have done this and like scaled, because, those total sales, it's a good chunk of it's the US, but a huge part's Europe, a huge part's, there's a chunk in Asia. It's a global operation in business. There's 30 other e-com platforms that we sell on, right? We have a dedicated team for everything non-Amazon. So, to your comment, yeah, there's just, there's nothing like it that we could have done. And part of the reason why I got into it was because the industry I was in, which was like for-profit education, it was interesting. But e-com, I was like, oh, this is going to have a really long runway, right? So this is like, if I learn the skills, this is cool. This is going to, like, for my lifetime, I can be in this space. And, even if the e-com business fails or whatever, there's going to be lots of opportunity in this space. And that part's definitely, turned out to be true as well.
That's amazing. You said you switched to the different brand. So what was next after the iPhone cases?
Yeah. So through part of the growth, I think we were at 20 million. We bought another, or kind of a merger with someone that was doing about 6 million at the time. We brought them in. So it was another cell phone case. So we had two major brands in the cell phone industry. And the one we bought ended up growing to be like over $40 million. It had a really good, actually, women liked some of the styles better than some of our other. So we did that too within the industry. And really wasn't to 2018. We had the team built in China. We had about 30 people. We still do in Atlanta that we started getting other categories, which none of them none of them as big as the cell phone case industry, but we do fitness. We do a lot of fitness gear. We do pet supplies. We do, like, essentially what we've done is we found some partnerships, like, because people pitch us all the time about do it. But for example, like, we did like the doggy poop bags years ago because one of our neighbors, another Chinese guy, his family had a factory in China.
Where do you live in? What is your neighborhood? Is it like Chinatown in Atlanta?
You'd be surprised. A lot of Chinese, Indian. Yeah. Up north, there's like a tech corridor up here north of Atlanta. So there's a lot of IT workers here. So yeah, a lot of Indian and Chinese, but yeah, they had a manufacturing plant there. So we did a deal with like a joint venture with the manufacturer because they could produce the bags. We've done fitness. We've done at one point we did rifle scopes. That was kind of a different risk, but essentially once we had the model, we had like our research team, our product team that would go through and find opportunities, and we'd build out brands. So. But from the beginning, our always thing was like, we wanted to go like really deep in brands and stay focused on it and not jump around a lot until we had like a big enough team that could really focus on
so
each.
So generally speaking, talking about the brands, you have brands across the categories right now. So like, I believe I can choose one and you'll say, yeah, we're selling something there.
A good number. Yeah. Yeah. Probably like we have like 7 different categories, something like that. Yeah.
So being such an experienced Amazon seller, I keep seeing you moving forward and launching something new and like being in finance and merchant acquisitions and all this stuff that you keep doing, which is honestly very, very inspiring. And it's inspiring for people who didn't start yet. And given your experience with different type of the categories, which category do you think is the most dangerous right now for Amazon sellers beside iPhone cases? Like, I understand.
Yeah. That is one of them. It's interesting. There's a survey that was done by one of the people in the space that talks about which brands that the aggregators like to buy the most and which ones they dislike the most, which is interesting. Essentially, so that might be one consideration if you're not selling on Amazon or getting ready to launch your brand, is to think about, I always like to think about the end goal you have, kind of begin with the end in mind. So if you want to exit that brand, which categories are most attractive, which ones may have some more risk. My disclaimer would be, if I feel like if you have a good product that has a unique value proposition, like I would sell regardless what category that thing is, if you feel like you have a unique advantage. But if I didn't have that, then, just certain categories are more peculiar, or there's things like, again, like supplements is definitely kind of high risk, high reward. It takes a lot more capital to get into that. Things like, some of the smaller categories like the medical equipment, some of those things are pretty niche, but, are going to be probably a little bit tougher to exit. I think it's interesting. Things like household goods are popular, but you also have to be careful. There's just a ton of Me Too products. So you just have to be careful in areas if, if you can't really differentiate, I think, again, it's not really worth going into those categories if you don't have something, a unique angle to, and the unique angle could be the product, but also the positioning of the product as well.
What are we expecting in 2023? It's the very obvious question, but the answer probably will be very interesting for you.
Yeah. So I think, again, I'm excited about, that's the thing about this business. People think like, oh, I should have gotten back, started 5 years ago or back when you did. It's like, I like to quote like, hey, you didn't. So like, let's go right now. I mean, the big long term of e-commerce and Amazon, we're still, 50 years from now, we'll be like, oh, 2023, that was early. There's always like these pros and cons that work in your favor and work against. Like recently, shipping rates have been getting better. So, that's kind of working in favor. There's some concerns around the economy. So at the end of the day, I remember when COVID hit, we thought our business was going to really struggle. And of course it did not, it went the other way. So, I personally don't think you need to really worry too much about the macro scenarios either way, because e-coms, continues to grow double digit. I think overall, this has been a trend a little bit the last couple of years, but I think it's continued to emerge in big ways, is that we always said, we want to be brand focused back in the day, but like, back when we built our brand, if I talked to you about how we ranked our product, how we did things, totally different. We could not do that stuff today. It was very like black hat, but that was just the way our competition, all of us did it. Now it's much more about building a quality brand. It's in different ways. We've been at some of the big events together. There's all these new ways about driving external traffic and Google and, some really good tools out there. Amazon's providing you, more data and more information than they ever have in terms of, basically conversion rates and other top competitors for you. So they're trying to help you more because they're also competing with like Walmart and competing with Shopify. So that's part of the reason why they're rewarding that external traffic, because they don't want all the external traffic to go to Shopify. So, I think it's an exciting time period for someone who's focused on, really focusing on how to build a brand, really focusing on the front end, how to get your product right, how to package it right, like really create value, and then use some of these tools that have never existed to, to really differentiate yourself both on the Amazon platform, but use, all these external resources to drive external traffic as well.
That sounds great. So we're not, guys, using any more black hat. And if you keep asking if you can gain some reviews by your friends or families or whatever, we don't do that anymore. And Jammie is a very great proof of concept about building your brand. The stronger your brand, the stronger your position, because that means you have an authority, you have a face, you have appearance, you have assets, you have genuine speaking. You're building the path to move forward. So it's a long-term game. It's not short-term game. Jammie, very also simple probably question for you. When people are launching their business on Amazon, what is the best minimum budget they should invest into something to succeed? It's a terrible question at the same time, but I'm getting this question every single day. So
sure.
Address
yeah. I would say it's kind of like, what's the honest question versus kind of like the minimal answer. I mean, people will say, oh, you can do it for $5,000. Realistically, I would say, obviously it varies on the product if your budget, but realistically, I would say you probably need at least $15,000 minimum. I would say, realistically look at it more like 20,000 more. And the way I look at it is like, if you want to invest in a franchise or a car wash, whatever, you made hundreds of thousands of dollars, or a new restaurant, maybe 500,000. So if you're trying to run a business, like launch a business for $5,000, Amazon FBA private labels are not the way to start. But give yourself, some room. At minimum, I would say at least $15,000.
per ASIN, right?
What's that?
Per one ASIN.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you need some cushion. You need some ability to reorder your inventory quickly. You don't want to be, under tons of pressure. And so, again, to potentially have a multi-six-figure business, and you're putting in, $20,000 or less than $20,000, that's like a really efficient model. And that may mean you need to partner with someone who can kick in $10,000 or, get different ways. But yeah, I would say at least, and obviously some of the expenses have kicked up a little bit in the last year, like shipping and certain things, and just inflation and prices and totals push some things up as well.
I totally agree with you here. Last couple of questions. Do you believe in FBM?
Yes. Yeah, we do FBM in some cases. Like we try not to do. We try to do FBA as much as possible. Like with our AMZ Insiders, Joey, she had $1 million business. She exited. She almost did exclusively FBM because her product, they basically had some modifications they did in the warehouse. And so from there, with the cost of the product was like $200+, that it made sense to go ahead and to ship it itself. It's also a good method to have a backup in terms of Amazon inventory limits have their, not always consistent with it. They put back in inventory limits at times. And so, that's a good method. Now, when you're starting off, again, you want to leverage FBA as much as possible, but FBM is definitely a good, something we definitely want to have in the mix, especially as you grow.
Yeah, in the mix is a good approach to go about it. And probably is one of like almost the last question for you. When you're already inside of your journey, you're a millionaire or billionaire? Are you
not a billionaire?
Okay, yeah, you're a millionaire. So at the same time, I know that you are running Amazon Insiders. So you are doing Amazon course. So you have Amazon program that is actually teaching people how to launch, start, and do their Amazon business. Why do you do that? And what is your ideal student?
Yeah, so good question. It's actually a question people do get a good amount. It's interesting what we've learned, and I think we've been pretty accurate on this, is so Amazon, you have incredible product distribution to distribute your products. Around 2018, we started this in 2017, but really 2018, the AMZ Insiders, we started realizing the importance of influencers, right? We have a whole influencer team to sell our product on YouTube and everything else. But we realized the power of personal brands is important in the space. And so what has given me personally and people on the team are now Joey, so is we call people distribution. So I have the ability to connect with other people. And that's been important for a couple of things. Because one is I'm interested in buying brands. I'm interested in partnering with people. Like Joey came through, did $1 million business. Like she's talented. I brought her aboard as a partner to do business with, like to go make more money, to go potentially launch other brands. So that gave me a platform in terms of community. There's a lot of people that want access to that in terms of aggregators and everything else. We're profitable in that business, so it's like a good margin business. And it's kind of rewarding to be able to help people out. To answer your question in terms of the type of people, it's interesting. We work with a lot of people that were like 9-to-5ers before. They didn't have experience in the space. They're kind of like me. They had a corporate job and they come in and they're getting started. We do have some other, we've had 7-figure sellers and some of those guys and one-offs, and we've helped some of those people then exit their brand, sell their brand. So that well too. But frankly, we get just a lot of professionals that don't necessarily have experience in the space, but they want to learn. And part of our thing is that we curate a lot of people. So we bring in a lot of the speakers from these top events you go to, and they come and they present and help our those that are coming through. So it's not really just about us, but really more about the community. That
sounds great. So who can join you? Like I stopped teaching people a year ago. Even I'm selling my courses once a year, only during the Black Friday, and I'm launching something just once a year. So I'm not teaching anymore. However, I'm more than happy to refer all my customers, all my clients, all my audience to you if you will let us know who is your ideal student, what budget they're supposed to have, what is the criteria, and how do you want them to approach you, or your program is fully closed? Let us more a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. As far as, again, it's typically people that have not started yet on Amazon, or people that have started, but they're maybe they're in the 6-figure range, or they're just kind of stuck. and they're like, hey, I just want to plug in and figure out how you do this. And so it's a coaching program where we have coaches, myself, we have Joey, we have a guy, Matt Atkins. So we have a team of coaches that like work with people every day. So it's really about kind of accountability and helping. You can get knowledge and information out there. You can watch YouTube and we provide a lot of information, but it's really more about accountability and helping people, kind of be a partner with them through that. And then, like I said, we like to, we're interested in potentially partnering with the brand or buying the brand as well too. So in this world of aggregators and everything else, we actually, we have a good sense of what these businesses, how they're doing. And we've had some, people we've been looking at this year and in discussions with about investing in their brands as well too. So it connects there. For us, I'm on Instagram. My name, just Jammie Davidson on Instagram. That's an easy way. If you guys DM me there, reach out. I'm sure there'll probably be some other ways.
So generally speaking, who are coming to join your program, you're helping them to grow their business. And then if their business is successful, you are offering them to buy it.
Yes.
So generally speaking, no risk.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting because that's where, for us, we feel like we have the experience, like the aggregators. The aggregators are, good at certain things. I think they're really good at deal making. They don't have like the operating experience in some cases. That's why a lot of the aggregators are struggling. Nor do they really, they're not in the community as much, or a lot of them are not. So so I feel like we're, kind of well positioned to look at that and do different things. And if not us, or just point people to other, like I do work with Northbound, so Northbound does a great job helping people represent people to sell their brands. So we can just kind of sit in a good spot to help people, to make the most of the business they're building.
That's amazing. Well, Jammie, thank you so much for joining me today. And guys, Jammie is like absolutely blowing mind example that went from 35,000 a year, you said, right?
Oh yeah. Military. Yes.
Military, 35,000 a year to be a billionaire. And in 2011, he launched. Then in 2017, it's been $8 million. And then it was $100 million in 2018. I was making notes. And he started with selling iPhone cases from the garage with a couple of Chinese guys. One is beans and another one is bread. And now they're selling so many products across of the categories. And genuinely speaking, if you want to learn how to start your business on Amazon and sell it to Jammie back, this is the right place to go about it. Jammie, thank you so much. Like you have amazing story. You have amazing team. I love your reels. I love joie.
Yeah. Joie, that's right. That's the right way to pronounce it. Yeah. It's been great connecting with you, and we look forward to doing more with you, Isabella. You and your team is super impressive. That's what makes it fun, right? Connect with other people you kind of like and trust, and then see if you can do business and kind of all grow together.
Well, looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you.